Alright, David Harry here, and in this video I'm just going to be doing some pretty geeked out mad stuff with an RTX 3070 and PUBG. So just quickly, this is an RTX 3070, I'm obviously in PUBG. I'm using an Intel i9-9900K CPU. I'm on 32 gigs of RAM here, although you don't need anywhere near that amount of random access memory to do what I'm doing here. So what I'm going to be doing is running the game in 8K, as you can see right now. So wherever possible, you need to look at this as high a resolution as you possibly can on the biggest monitor you can find. Hopefully you might have an 8K monitor, or you may have two 16:9 monitors, and then you can span the video across. Anyways, just to be given a big mad mega warning up front, this is not competitive gameplay. If you have come across this video thinking to yourself this is going to be some crazy gameplay fighting and stuff like that, no, it's not. This won't be the game for you. This won't be the video for you. However, if you're somebody who's into real geeky nerdy stuff and wants to know how far you can push an RTX 3070, this defo will be the video for you. So I'd recommend that you carry on watching. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to hit the deck and I'll start explaining a few more things about what's going on, show you some settings and stuff like that. And then what I'm going to do is just start changing graphic detail and stuff like that. Let's just see what we can push an RTX 3070 to in one of the 8K modes. Right, so let me just get on the floor. Like I say, it's not competitive, this game, and the main reason for that, to be honest, is I'm some knobhead off console who can't play on PC. That's the bottom line. I'm actually quite good at PUBG on, Android, for instance. I'm really good on Android. But basically, anything where I can play with a game controller, I'm quite good at this game with that. However, when it comes to PC, I am just terrible. Properly terrible. So that's why this is not going to be competitive. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is just get a bit further over this way. I think I'm probably away from all the peoples, so hopefully I'm not going to be getting killed really quickly. But hopefully what we should be seeing here right now is some very impressive frame rates. Now, granted, yes, we are on whatever it is, very low with the graphics, and I will show all that in a second. And of course, these trees don't really have much detail to them, and I think anything in the distance tree wise is going to look like bits of broccoli or something, but we'll get onto that in a second. Okay, so hopefully where I am now, no one can have me off. So let me quickly show you some of the settings here. Okay, so on settings, as we can see, we are at 7680 by 2160. Now that is an 8K resolution, and very specifically 32:9 as far as the aspect ratio is concerned. What I'm doing here, I'm using two 4K monitors bolted together through the Nvidia Control Panel, which then makes the monitor be seen as a single monitor, or the two monitors as a single monitor. And as we can see, very low for everything. No Vsync on or anything. I'll be doing Vsync in a minute because I'm going to have to explain some of the stuff. So let me just carry on running and talking. Now, if at this point my voice is just going to annoy the hell out of you through this, if you're interested in looking at the pictures but not listening to me, just lower the volume down and just skip through the video and do whatever you want. Anyways, so right now we are hitting 160 odd frames per second, which is just absolutely barking mad. Now, the only problem is what you're looking at will be 30 frames per second as far as the playback is concerned. And I can't record 8K 60 on this system. In fact, you can't record 8K 60 with any RTX card, unfortunately. So even if you've got an RTX 3090, in fact, I'll just do some slow panning here as I'm talking. If you've got an RTX 3090, you can't even record 8K 60 on that, and that's just because it's a limitation of the Vsync encoder that's on the cards themselves. So right now, this card, the 3070, has got the same Vsync encoder as the 3080 and the 3090. So yeah, we're limited by the encoder itself. Now, what's the name, the NVENC encoder will encode 8K60, but it can't record 8K60, just the limitation of the chipset itself. Okay, so that should give us a bit of an idea as to what's going on there. And in keeping with what I've just said there, we're only at 30 frames per second. The other problem that we've got here is because the card is being battered with gameplay and it's trying to also record, you may be seeing dropped frames. If you are, those dropped frames aren't really happening. It may well just be a result of the system being stressed and the NVENC encoder dropping the frames, and that is something that will happen on every single system with an Nvidia card which is doing serious gameplay or heavy graphics or any kind of post-production work as well, and trying to use the NVENC encoder at the same time. They will affect one another. Okay, now with that said, what I'm going to do, let me just go back to this resolution doonad here. So I'm going to drop this down. Now I'm going to put Vsync on, because despite the fact we have got like really good frame rates, I did see a bit of frame tearing going on there. So now what we should see is a solid picture. And like I say, you're going to be seeing this at 30 frames. I'm seeing this at 60. But what we should now see is no tearing or anything going on. There was a slight little bit of tearing going on just before, which you can actually see within certain objects and not the entire screen tearing. But nonetheless, now that Vsync is on, we should have a mega solid picture there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump into this car and let's go somewhere else. Okay, now let me see if I can drive it with the keyboard. Oops, what am I doing? I can't drive the car. Right, so let me just kind of center up a bit here so we can see what's going on in front of us. Okay, so once again then we are in ultra low. Oops, I'm gonna hit something. We're in ultra low. Oh, I've just hit something. Right, we're in ultra low with the Vsync on, and we should be seeing a very solid picture, albeit it is not very detailed, as you know, as we would expect with such graphic settings. But as far as I'm concerned, this is just outrageous. It's off its head and I love it. This is just pure geeky stuff, this, and who would have thought an RTX 3070 could do this? Because like I said, there's all this nonsense and talk about, oh, it's only got like, you know, so much VRAM and it's not going to be enough. Well, this is 8K, you know. I'm sorry, but yeah, you can see exactly what's going on here. Now what I'm going to do, let me just pull up a little bit on the car here and I will change some more settings. Hold on. So go back to settings, and what I'm going to do, I'll take Vsync off, and then that should bring our frame rate back up again. But this time what I'm going to do is go to medium graphics. Now what we should notice is a bit more detail in stuff, and like the loadout distance and all that should give us something a bit more better. Oh, there we can see that straight away. Look at that. Now suddenly we're not seeing like sticks of broccoli on the horizon, we are seeing trees. So that's all good. So what I'm going to do is just drive around a little bit more like this. Hold on. What it is, I'm going to drive a bit because driving is going to stress it a little bit for us, the system, so we can actually, you know, push the system more when we're driving. And the reason why that is because as soon as we hit certain parts of like where our like, you know, our vision, our field of view is starting to be more populated by like, you know, more buildings or background and stuff, the system has to work harder, you know, to kind of draw all that information into our field of view, like now for instance. So all that stuff there, the system has to work a lot harder to put all that in. But as we can see, we're still on around, what, 90 odd frames per second. In fact, let's get up onto this hill up here. We'll have a little look at what's going on up here. We'll try and like get a bit of a scenic view from up here and get a really good idea about resolution and like loadout and field of view and all kinds of stuff. Okay, so get up there. Now let me just pop out the car. Right. Is that car going to stay there? Right, so let's have a look down here. Now this to me just looks amazing, and don't forget we are only on medium right now as far as like render quality and stuff is concerned. I mean, obviously you can change all the individual aspects of these things. I'm not going to do that because it just won't be worth it for this particular video. This is just me just being nuts and geeking out and just doing crazy things, which hopefully there's going to be a few people out there can relate to it and go, yeah, that is nuts, I like it, you know. But nonetheless, I won't go into all the finer granular settings and alter individual settings. I'll just do another setting after this, which will be ultra. So looking at that now, we can see some pretty immense stuff. The only thing is, am I going to get caught out here? Right, I've got the car. So hopefully, hold on, where am I on the map? Right, I've got the car, so I should be able to scoot off fairly sharpish. Now what I'm going to do, let me just go back to settings. Now, let me come down. I'll put Vsync on here. We might see a bit of a hit here actually on the frame rate and such. But with Vsync on there, as I do slow pans like this now, that looks solid at this end. Hopefully it's not going to drop too many frames on the encoding itself at your end. But as we can see there with the details in the top left, in fact, just quickly, right now I've zoomed in to the actual details in the top left there, the performance overlay. Now I'll come back out of that. So I've just shown you that quickly just so you can see exactly what's going on. If you can go full screen with this thing, then brilliant, you'll be able to see all that properly. Okay, so the zone's now kicking in here. So with Vsync on, that was rock solid for me. Hopefully I can get back in the car and get somewhere without getting that off. Oh wait there, hold on. Right, so turn around and run away. Hold on, let me just try and do the best opposite direction I can do here. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get away, get back into the safe zone as it were, and then I'll continue with some more of the I'll continue with some more of the resolution stuff. But then what I'll do, I'll go to ultra. But see this right now, this is unbelievably playable. Right, so this is medium in like 8K 32:9. And easily playable. I mean, if you're like me, you know, and you're basically just you know, casual PC kind of gamer type thing, and you're into your console stuff and all that, 60 frames per second is ace. Do you know what I mean? You definitely can't go all kinds of nutty super high frame rates, I suppose, with this. Although you could have done with the, you know, the very low setting and stuff. It was definitely achievable. But for me personally, I don't do competitive gameplay on PC. Oh, I'm all over the place here, hold on. Right, I don't do competitive gameplay on PC. So with that, I don't mind ramping things up as far as the visuals are concerned and things, you see. So I have a different way of like looking at PC gaming maybe than most people do, because I'm just not competitive with it because I'm no good at it. Right, I think, can I see any more stuff further up here? Right, let me get further up here for a start, and then we'll see if I can catch any more stuff on the horizon. Then I'll go to ultra. Like I say though, right now this is just fantastic, the frame rate and how solid it is. Right, hold on, let me just pop out here a sec, because let's see. Okay, right, my vista isn't amazing as it were here, but it'll do for now. Okay, so I'm going to go back into settings, and then I will come down. Right, I'll initially take Vsync off, and that's only so that we can hit the highest frame rate possible with ultra. So there we go, ultra settings. Let me apply that and go back. Now it might take a little few seconds just to populate any of the, you know, any of the textures and stuff, but look at that. That is outrageous. Now the other thing here as well, and this would kind of like matter for like competitive gamers, that field of view that we're seeing there, I'm not entirely sure I could say that it's twice the normal field of view, but it is way wider field of view than what you would normally see if you were in 16:9 on this game. So if you were playing competitively, that stuff you could see there, you know, to your periphery, you'd be at a great advantage with stuff like that. So even if you went to the lower settings and balanced it out so you could have a high frame rate but have such a mad field of view like this, I think you'd definitely be in for, like, you know, catching people before they could see you and stuff. You know, it'd be outrageous to play like this. Well, I would if I could play the game properly on PC, but I'm crap. Okay, now as you can see there, 85 frames per second. Now, given that this is half of the pixel density of what it would be if it was in full screen on an 8K, you know, proper 8K TV, 8K monitor, this would be maintaining over 40 frames per second in Ultra at full 8K. Now, that is absolutely mind-bending. I mean, this is what it's doing right now, is absolutely off its cake. Now, what I'm going to do, let me just go back to the settings. And I'm going to put Vsync back on. Okay. Let me just go back there. Now, that'll drop right back down to the 60 mark. Again, it's only going to go to 60 because the actual refresh rate of the monitor is set to 60. I'm going to say the monitor. There is 2 monitors, but because, like I'd explained earlier, the Nvidia software stitches them together as a single one. This now is effectively a single monitor that's at 60 Hz, hence why the Vsync will try and lock as best as it can to the 60. Although unfortunately, as I've already said, you'll only be seeing the 30 frames per second. Right, let me jump back in the car and let me see if I can go to somewhere else where hopefully we can get a benefit of, like, you know, some of the detail and stuff. Look at that. I told you how bad I was with this game playing on PC. I can't even get into the car. Right. Now, at my end here, this is still maintaining 60 frames per second solid with Vsync on in Ultra. This is definitely outrageous. So for anyone, I mean, actually, just a quick practical thing here. For anybody who's concerned as to, is 8 gigabytes enough VRAM on a 3070? Well, look at this. What do you think? Because don't forget, right now we are in, what is this? 4 times the density of 4K. So if most people are thinking about playing 4K, right now the resolution that I'm at is definitely going to be a way higher resolution or way higher pixel count than what 4K is, right? So what you're going to have to bear in mind is that if I'm getting 60 frames here, and the VRAM's definitely going to be getting choked out probably, but this is way higher than 4K. So hopefully, yeah, on a practical note, this is kind of showing stuff for people who might be concerned that the 3070 has only got 8 gig of RAM. But I think if if you're planning on doing 8K video, so, and like you've only got 8 gig of RAM, then maybe that becomes an issue. But I mean, in all honesty, not many people are going to be trying to play 8K. Now let me just pop out the card again because it looks like I've got a bit of a view here. Okay, right. Check that for the view. So the picture quality and everything and the loadout there is just outrageous as far as I'm concerned. Now I'll do a little bit of a slowish pan. Let's see what we can see. In fact, I'll try and do a 360 while I'm here like this. Now, like I say, on the screen right now, this is basically smooth all the way round. It is going kind of 59, 60, which in effect will drop frames when it does that. So maybe not quite as smooth as if it was like, you know, hitting 60 consistently. But nonetheless, this is well playable. And don't forget, this is in Ultra. So yeah, if you were to drop it down, you get a higher frame rate. If you want to go competitive, you could still do competitive at such a resolution, but just keep dropping down, like, you know, you what's the name, all your settings for the graphics and that. Anyways, yeah, I think I've probably, you know, geeked out enough with this stuff. So I'm just going to run off into the distance here. I'll probably end up getting shot by a sniper now. But just to talk this out, what it is, I'm not a PC gamer, which is dead obvious. However, I am somebody who kind of, you know, understands this technology to a fair degree because I kind of do like a lot of video post-production. So I use these things for post-production and I do kind of understand, you know, what they mean to gamers and things. So what I'm going to be doing is just like messing around with this stuff and doing some crazy things. Now, as a for instance, when I kind of like look at some of these game videos, you know, like testing things, and people are using like, you know, bad scenarios for recording, and there's drop frames everywhere and all this kind of thing, and I might be on this one, and that's because I've had to use the internal recording. But I use a separate recording system for a lot of the stuff that I do. So what I want to do is start like, you know, doing stuff where I can show full screen at 4K being recorded properly with no drop frames and all kinds of nutty stuff like that, and none of this mad split screening and people just going like, yeah, here's the settings for the game, and then split screening it, but not actually showing you. But you know, they basically show you an overlay that says something, but they don't show you the game setting itself. Do you know what I mean? So what I want to start doing is picking one game, then say go into say 1080 on it, show what it's like with say the lowest settings, then the mid settings, then the high settings at 1080, so people can get a really good idea as to what a 3070 would do with a particular game doing that. Then go to 1440, do the same, you know, lowest, medium, highest, and then eventually get it up to 4K, lowest, medium, highest. Now those videos, if I can do something where I can just spend maybe a minute on each, like, you know, resolution scenario, so say 1 minute at 1080 lowest, 1 minute 1080 medium, so on and so forth, all the way up to 4K highest. If I can do stuff like that, I think maybe for me personally, that's the kind of thing I would like to see, as far as like knowing how a particular card responds with a particular game. Not all this split screen stuff where people are testing one CPU with the card against another CPU and stuff like that. For me personally, I just want to geek out on the full screen video, which is hopefully recorded at the best possible quality with a secondary recording system. Anyway, so that'll give you an idea of the stuff that I plan on doing. Now, if people have got any ideas that they would like me to test out and what have you, I most certainly will do anything that I'm capable of doing, and the nerdier the better as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, I think that'll do it for this. I should hopefully have given people enough information here as to what they could possibly expect from an RTX 3070 doing stuff like this. And don't forget, the results are going to be better again when it's only down to 4K. Alrighty then, so if you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, you know, keep an eye on my channel and stuff like that by maybe subscribing, and maybe get all over that bell notification icon thing. I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.